So if you've ever been wondering how difficult it is to create a website from a template, I'm going to walk you through a couple of things to look out for when you're looking at templates. All right. So this applies across the board if you're using, even if you're using like WordPress, Drupal, Joomla, if you're using others, yeah. But this platform that I'm using here, this is my Amplified OS powered by GoHighLevel. So I'm going to be in GoHighLevel here. So I'm going to do a quick run through of a template and again some things to look out for. So I'm just going to load this template or load a template here. They have a couple top trending recently added. Let me, you know what, I'll jump into this one here, this phone repair shop. All right. So normally within GoHighLevel, if there's a template that you want to use, it's really as simple as just loading it. So it makes it really easy. When you're on like WordPress and other platforms, you have to like install WordPress, configure it with your hosting. You have to connect this. You got to connect that. You got to download a file, load it in your database. You got to do a few things. With GoHighLevel here, it's simpler. Hold on, give me 1 second. I think I just accidentally jumped out of it here. All right, phone repair shop. So let's jump into one of these pages here because what I really want to walk through is just, again, things to look out for. Because most of the time what happens whenever whenever someone sees a template, what normally happens is the template looks great, right? The template looks great, but when you go to start customizing it, you realize, damn, like, well, this doesn't look good anymore because my photos don't work, or my color scheme doesn't really go with this, and my logo doesn't really go with that. So, I'm going to walk through a couple of things that you might want to pay attention to. All right. So, first thing, starting from the top, whenever you're building a website, one thing that I normally have always started with is like the global parts of the site. So whenever I say global, what I'm referring to is the parts of the site that apply to every page, right? The header, the footer, like the actual footer that's going to be the same across every page on the site. Any sidebars, like if there's, well, this one doesn't have a sidebar, but if there is a sidebar where you have like recent blog posts, contact information, stuff like that, you want to look out, you want to focus on those first. I like to call those like, again, global elements. Everything else is considered like a container. All right. So I'm looking at this header here. And for this particular template, I'm seeing that there's a logo that's long. Okay. Now, one thing that I've noticed a lot of people do, they may have a logo that's not long, or let me refer to it as the aspect ratio of a logo. So just in simple terms, whenever someone says the term aspect ratio, that is what the ratio of the length of an image would be relative to the height. So if someone says my logo is a 1:1 aspect ratio, that means that the height and the width are the same. It's same in proportion to each other. This one here is long, so this one might be, I'm going to estimate this to be a 5:1. So if it's a height of an inch, the length of it is probably going to be about 5 inches, right? So the reason I'm bringing this up is because when you have a header where in the template things look good because the logo has a 5:1 or 4:1 aspect ratio, you want to think, all right, well, what would this look like if the aspect ratio of my logo was 1:1? So there are a couple of things you can do here. You could say, well, let me make a longer version of my logo. You can add writing or you can pull some things. Or you can modify the header a little bit to ensure that if it's 1:1, that it doesn't look too small. All right. So again, the header, very important. I'm looking at the menu here. There are a couple components to this menu. If you wanted to delete certain parts of this, you could, right? So like with certain businesses, you might not have like an opening time or a closing time. So you could delete some of this stuff and then you could move this over so that, it still kind of fits. So again, you want to make sure that what you have in this header is appropriate for what you're going to be using it for. So I'm looking at, welcome to business name, keep you connected. So we have some social media icons. This is cool. Um, the menu here has a list of all of the different navigation points, and then it has a drop down, and it is a call to action button here, which is great. So if you do have some type of call to action button, I always say, and this is just sort of a rule of thumb, if you are going to create a call to action button, try to don't make it where there's friction to getting to identify or knowing who these people are. So I've seen some folks, they design a website and a call to action button is like a buy now, right? So think about what's happening here when you have a buy now button as your primary call to action. If someone has to give you money for you to figure out or to find out who these people are, then just imagine if you have 4,000 people that have hit your page and only 10 people are ready to buy right now, you're only going to know that 10 people or identify 10 people to hit your page. But if the call to action is something else like a book now, download this now, check this out, and it leads them to a form or a pop-up. Now out of the 4,000 people, let's say 300 of them, 400 of them give you their information, you can now follow up with them because you've identified these folks. Be tactical about what your call to action is. All right. Now let's scroll all the way down to the bottom. Again, what within some of these templates, you'll notice that there's like these menus, very typical. You could delete each one of these if you want. Um, so how do I even say this? I would, if unless you're building like an enterprise website, I would avoid having too many points to navigate to. Um, you don't get more points from having more pages to navigate to. If anything, it's especially in today's age, it's important for you to try to get people to land somewhere and to make a decision as fast as possible. Years ago, those were the times when you had more pages, so people thought you were more legit. Now, that is not the case. If anything, having a chat bot or a widget, an AI widget, is going to give you a lot more results than having more pages to navigate to. All right. Stay updated. This is supposed to be a form. I didn't configure any forms for this particular website, but if you do have a form here, instead of it having a message, let me see. I think my newsletter subscription. Yeah, I would recommend having just capture an email, subscribe, boom, really quick, as a call to action inside of a footer. Nothing too complicated. All right. Now let's scroll throughout the pages here. So I'm looking at this page here. I'm seeing there's a background image. There's an image here. There's a front image. We got a button. So off rip, if you want your page to look somewhat like this, you need images to replace here. Now this background image, you can make it where this is just a blank. You can make it where it's just a color. And then have an image here. So, you could start to say, well, I don't want all the fancy stuff. I just want colors to be part of my background, but you're going to keep certain images. You can definitely do that. We have an image here. We have some text. Here's one thing that I want to say that you can do when it comes to populating templates. You can leverage AI to do a lot of this work for you. So one thing that I've done with a lot of websites that I've built lately is I will take the template. I'll take the template that already has a full structure and stuff, and I will publish it. Okay. So I'll publish it to a URL that is publicly accessible, not to everybody. Like you're not gonna find it in Google, but there's at least a link that you can click on. What I will then do is I will take that link and I would load that into Claude or ChatGPT, and I will say, hey, Claude or ChatGPT, I want this template to reflect my business and my brand based off of everything you know about my particular offerings. Provide me with an outline of all of the content that I should replace this entire template with. So it will look through and it will give you, if there's 6 different elements here, it'll replace this with content that's aligned with your particular brand. you will still have to go in and replace different icons and stuff, right? Um, but at least all of the content is already, AI will help you with all of the content. Images, you'll have to find new images. But the thing, again, the thing to look out for when you're populating templates is the aspect ratio of these images, where it's placed. All of that can, all of that can impact what images you choose to place in some of these templates. All right. So, um, but again, something like this, a template like this with multiple pages, I could go to the about page. I'm not going to save my progress here. I should have turned autosave on, whatever. So all of these different pages, I would guess that it could take you less than a couple of days if with focus to create a website using a template like this. And again, depending on what type of business you have, it's really a matter of taking all of this, publishing it, using AI, providing you with a ton of content, and then you just hopping into each one of these and just replacing all of this content. It is not, again, it's not difficult to edit these pages inside of GoHighLevel. All right. Now, if you are if you're not if you don't really have a full website right now and you're in a position to create one, I'd love to provide you with a trial so that you can come in and build and actually construct a website on a very easy to use platform. I'll, of course, work with you on managing it, and you'll save a lot. But the aim really isn't just to save, it's to make a lot, right? So the cool part about GoHighLevel is that you can connect these websites to other things like your CRM, your form builder, funnels, digital products, communities, and stuff like that, calendars, schedulers, So if you're interested in checking this out, hit me up. If it takes you a little bit longer than the trial period, and you've made it this far in the video, I want you to send me a message, right? So normally the trial is it's $1 for 30 days. If it's past 30 days, shoot me a message and I'll extend it for another 25 days for you. All right. So I just want to make sure that you have enough ample time to get up and running. And of course, if you need any support with regards to, what to do in order to amplify your reach and your revenue, hit me up. I'm here to answer any of your questions. All right. Peace.